Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And today, I'm going to share with us some other discoveries that I have in my study of both the Bible and the Quran. And as such, I was able to identify three different occasions where Allah demonstrated greater tolerance than the God of the Bible. So I'd like you to follow through as I go. The first instance is at the fall of Satan. So at the fall of Satan, there are two levels of tolerance. There's a tolerance from the God of the Bible, there's a different reaction the from the Quran. So I'm going to first go through what the Bible says on this particular point, the fall of Satan. So according to the Bible, start from the book of Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 to 19, but I won't necessarily read all of that. But just to give us an idea of what the Bible says about the fall of Satan and how God reacted at the fall of Satan. I read, how you are falling from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you were cut down to the ground, you weakened the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into the heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Now, the Bible makes us to understand that God created. Now, okay, let me go back. Let me go to the book of Ezekiel. Now, this particular text shows us how Satan was created, how this person was created as an angel. From Ezekiel 28:11, okay, let me start from 12. Son of man, take up a lamentation for the king of Tyre and say to him, thus says the Lord, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz, the diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold, the workmanship of your timbrel and pipes was prepared for you on the day that you were created. Verse 14 says, you were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of fairy stones. You were perfect in your ways, from the day you were created till iniquity was found in you. Now, this text showed us how God made this angel as a covering cherub. Now, but there came a time that iniquity was found in him. So you can read this text downward. I'm not going to read all because of time. Now, going back to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, it says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Oh, now, what, what the devil did, perhaps because God created him with a lot of beauty, with all of these precious stones that we have in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, verse 13, where we mention all of these precious stones. Because of that, perhaps he was most beautiful out of all the angels that was made. Then pride entered into him, and he felt because he was the most beautiful, then he wanted to be in charge of heaven. Said he, he would be like the Most High. Now, it is just creating a kind of scenario where we have a government and and maybe the youth of the country are trying to start some rallies trying to dethrone the current president. That is the kind of scene that I can picture in this particular thing. Because the Bible made us to understand that he did not do it alone. He got followers. We're going to read that in the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 12. Verse- Okay, Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. The Bible made us to understand that he still drew a sword on the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman. Now, what is important is that he still drew a third of the stars of heaven. What this means is that he was able to gather a lot of followers, so much so that 1/3 excuse me, of the number of angels that God made actually followed him. And when God sent him out of heaven, God did so with all of these people that he had corrupted. Now, so this is how the battle now occurred. The Bible says in the book of Revelation 12, verse 7, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angel fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was there a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, was cast out to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now, that was the fall of Satan. Now, at this time, God had not created the earth. God had not created the earth. God the heavens was just the only civilization. Now, outside of heaven, then it's what I can call nothingness, where nothing exists. That was where God sent him to when he was banished from heaven. Then later in the book of Genesis, God decided to create the earth, and that was after 6 days. After 6 days of the creation of earth, God formed man. Now, what it means is that the devil already existed outside the civilization of heaven. Now, later, God created earth outside the civilization of heaven, which means it has to be a space around what was called the nothingness. And then, when the earth was created, the devil had to go to this new surface that God had created. Now, let's look at the Islamic source to see what uh, they say about the same story. We are going to find this story in the Quran, Quran chapter 7, verses 11 to 18. So I'm not going to read everything. Surely we created you, then shaped you, then said to the angels, prostrate before Adam. So they all did, but not Iblis, who refused to prostrate with the others. Allah asked, what prevented you from prostrating? Why I commanded you. He replied, I'm better than he is. You created me from fire and him from the clay. And then Allah said, then you get down from paradise. It is not for you to be arrogant here. So get out. You are truly one of the disgraced. He appealed, then delay my end till the day of resurrection. And Allah said, you are delayed until the appointed day. Now, you see, this story here shows that now, apart from the fact that it's a different story than the story in the Bible, it shows also that God had greater tolerance for the devil. Now, according to the Bible, it was becoming a headache. He was becoming a headache, and it was becoming a cancer. God needed to eject him out of heaven without no appeal, without no anything. Now, but in the story that we have in the Quran, it was like God told him to prostrate. He said, no, I cannot prostrate. God said, why can't you prostrate? He said, because I'm better than him. Yeah, okay. No, but even though you are better than him, you should not be disobedient to me. He said, yeah, better than him. And said, okay, just get out of this place. Ah, even if you are going to get me out of this place, you don't have to punish me so much. Just punish me a little till so time. As if it was the devil himself that was determining the terms of which God of the Bible determines the terms. God created everybody with free will. Then you determine if you really want to obey God or not. But the explanation that we have from the Quranic perspective, the devil was trying to determine the terms, meaning that Even though you are God, you even though you are God, the fact that you can have it to this end does not mean no. We need to look for a common ground here. So you have to do this or do that. That is what the description uh, that we got from the Quran looks like. How God was tolerant of the excesses of the devil. That is the first point. The first point, like I said, is on the fall of Satan. And the second point is the issue of adultery. I'm also going to go to the Bible, issue of adultery. In the book of Second Samuel, chapter chapter 11 and chapter 12. So I'm not going to read everything, I'm just going to paraphrase this particular story. So David in the Bible was a time for some battles, but because David had gotten some mighty men, he decided to stay back in the city, and those people went for the battle. And one of the days he was just strolling on the balcony and he sighted a woman who was taking her shower. And then he requested that they bring that woman, perhaps because he saw the woman naked and got attracted to her. And then he, he he had his way with her. And then the woman said she was pregnant. So David had to call on the husband, sent a message to the battlefront to invite the husband of that woman to come to the city. So when he did so, he asked him a few questions, how the battle was going and all of that. The man said, God is helping us. And then after the story, the king asked the man to go to his house. He refused. He refused because he felt he would not be enjoying on his bed while the children of Israel were still at. So for 2 or 3 days, he refused to go. And when the king noticed that he did not go, then he sent a letter to the leader of the battle that they should place this man in a place where he would be killed. And then he eventually died. Now, what was the reaction of God to this story? God became angry with King David. And God, when he became angry with David, sent a prophet to him, and then the prophet declared the mind of God, how angry God was with him, and David was severely punished for his act. So now it's on the issue of adultery that I'm talking about. Now I want to talk about the Quranic aspect on this on a similar note. Now this I'm also perhaps I'm going to also paraphrase it. It's in Quran chapter 33 verse 37. Quran 33 verse 37. Um, and also um, so I'm actually going to I'm not going to read it also. I'm just going to narrate story because I don't want to spend all time reading. So now it's a story uh, of a situation that happened to Prophet Muhammad. So Prophet Muhammad had an adopted son. This adopted son had a wife. Then Prophet Muhammad went to the house of this adopted son, and when he got there, um, he probably got there at a point where the woman was inside, but the wind blew the curtain, and he saw the woman naked, and his heart also drew to her, just like a similar situation to what happened to David. And then after a while, uh, he, he made a statement that made the woman to know that you can also actually read the whole this thing. I'm not going to read uh, this thing. You can, okay, let me, okay, ask when you get to answering Islam blog, then can do type this particular text there to bring you to all of this, then you'll be able to read the story uh, in details. So when he he eventually made a move. Now, when the woman noticed that the prophet had interest in her, she made her husband to know that the prophet also is interested in all of that. Then the husband of the adopted son of the prophet decided that he would divorce the woman. The prophet told him not to. Eventually, he had something else in mind. And to cut a long story short, the man divorced the woman, and then immediately the prophet had her to himself. Now, the response of God to this was that God, sorry, the response of Allah to this, according to the story, was that Allah revealed a Quranic verse to tell prophets that he could have what he, he was interested in, actually, which was contrary to the response of God of the Bible to the instance that happened to um, David. Now, just like David also had more than one wife, and still he he actually picked somebody else's wife and actually killed the husband. Now, this particular story, he did not kill in the Quran. He did not kill the husband, but he took the wife of his adopted son and then abolished adoption totally. Now, adoption was abolished in the Quran when we read Quran chapter 33, verses 4 and 5. So that's the story about adultery. Now, what this means is that now, when we see the response of the God of the Bible to a particular uh, instance, then the response of the God of the Quran is different. Then we can be so sure that these two persons are not the same person. Now, the the third point, the third point is what we see in okay. The third point is another Adam to be created, another Adam to be created. So we got to see this in Sahih Muslim 27:49. 27:49. Now I'm going to read. It said, by him in whose hand my life, sorry, by him in whose hand is my life. If you were not to commit sin, Allah would sweep you out of existence and he would replace you by those people who would commit sin and seek forgiveness from Allah, and he would have pardoned them. Now, this is from the Islamic point of view. But contrary to that, from the Bible, God frowns totally. Now, sin is just like disrespect. What I can liken sin to be is disrespect. And you see, when we are talking about disrespecting, maybe a younger brother disrespecting the elder brother is even mild. But when the poorest man in a continent is openly disrespecting the president of the richest city of another continent or even of the same continent, openly, maybe there is a large ceremony where everybody is present, cameras here and there, and then there's a presentation for the poorest man to probably have an opportunity to meet with the richest president. And then he was meant to give him a handshake. Then he decided to disrespect this kind of person. That is what sin is. So it is so ridiculous, so much so, it is so unimaginable. God, who made the heavens and the earth, God created the earth in 6 days, made everything that we can see, and then made man out of dust. And disrespecting this kind of creator is not imaginable. So, and it looks ridiculous that Allah could decide to tolerate this kind of a thing, that he would have created another Adam if this current Adam, the Adam that came, did not fall into sin. Now, I'm going to read some places in the Bible to make us to understand how God see disobedience. Now, 2 Samuel chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. The story is about a man, Uzzah. And when they came to Nachon threshing floor, Uzzah put out his hands to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against Uzzah, and God struck him there for his error, and he died there by the ark of God. David became angry because the Lord, sorry, and David became angry because of the Lord's outbreak against Uzzah, and called the name of the place Perex Uzzah to this day. Now, what is the ark of God? Is the ark of covenant that God described to Moses, that God told Moses to build. That is where the presence of God will be. But then God gave the guidelines. Not anybody can touch the ark of God. And even the persons that have the ability to touch the ark of God dare not go there to just touch the ark of God. They have to go through some purifications. Now, that is how God wanted his team. And that is what he instructed him to do. Now, by the time the ark of God was moving, they were moving the ark of God from one place to another. But maybe it now got to a point where the road was undulating, and then the ark of God was about to trip. And he was like, I cannot allow the ark of my God to fall down. Even though you will touch it, you must do, you must be qualified. And for you to be qualified also as a person that is designated to touch it, you also need to go through the purification that is required. So he, even though with good intention, but he was not going with the right, uh, according to the instruction that was given. God struck him. That is how much God frowns at disobedience. That is how much God frowns at disobedience. Another story that I'm going to talk about is the story of rebellion. I don't think I want to read all of this story, but if you are chanced, the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and chapter 16, 1 to 35. So it's about the person that the Bible calls Korah. I'm also going to make a video to talk extensively about this story. Now, Korah happened to be one of the children of Israel when they were in the wilderness. Moses was the one leading because God chose Moses. And then he just raised some men. They must have been talking about Moses. What does he know? How can he just make himself the leader of this place? How? Is he the only one? Is he the only one that is holy? Is he the only one that can be a leader? No, he can also teach and all of that. Then they, they decided to cause issue in the midst of the children of Israel. They, they, they wanted to be the leader. They wanted to replace Moses. They wanted to retire Moses and said, we are all holy here. Don't stop claiming to be the most holy. And we can also lead. You can also do all the rituals and all of these things that you've been doing. You have been doing as if you are doing a big thing. And then, to cut a long story short, Moses prayed to God. And then, because of the kind of rebellion that happened, there was an earthquake that swallowed Korah, Datan, and Abiram. Now, that is to show how much God frowns at some ungodliness. Now, there's a common story that we all know in the book of Genesis, chapter 7. It's the story of the great flood. The most important thing that I want to bring out of this story is that in all of the population of the world, perhaps let's say 1 million, only eight people were saved. Only eight people were saved. And because of what? Because of the ungodliness, because of sin. That is how much God detests sin. So for us to find in the Quran that God would have created another man to disrespect him in the presence of all the angels looks so ridiculous. Another story, the story now, the story of the ark, the great flood, the ark of Noah, this story happened, and we have the archaeological evidence of the ark of God. So it means that it actually happened. Another story that happened is the story in the book of Genesis, chapter 19. That's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, in this story, out of these two great cities, only four people came out. But out of the four, one looked back, and then she turned to pillar of salt. Now, what am I saying in essence? In essence, is that God frowns at sin, and it cannot come of God's mouth that He was going to create another man if Adam had not disrespected Him. So, what I'm saying in essence is that I'm encouraging you, study the scriptures, place them side by side. And I want you to know that the Bible is from God, and we have evidences everywhere. I hear that they say the Bible is corrupt and all of that. If the Bible is corrupt, all the archaeological evidences will not be found because they were found because the Bible directed them to the locations where they will find it. So I want to encourage you, study the Bible. That is the word from the Lord. There is no way it can come from the mouth of the God of the Bible, that he was going to create another man to sin, to disrespect him. No, that is not coming from the God of the Bible. So, and if you still believe that the same person that is the God of the Bible is the Allah of the Quran, no, they are two different entities. They are two different entities. We have evidences that proves that the God of the Bible is alive. If you know any evidence that the God of the Quran, that the Allah of the Quran is alive, please give me comments in the comment section. And I don't mind if you would like to share screen with me on on YouTube. Let's go live, then we'll talk about the differences if you do not mind. So, my argument is that the God of the Bible is not the same as the God of the Quran. The God of the Bible is not the same. I'd like you to let me know what your thoughts are. But I'm encouraging you to come to Jesus today. He is the way to the Lord. Everything that is in the Bible, nothing is corrupt. Nothing is corrupt. So I encourage you to come to the God that you are sure is God. I'm encouraging you today to come to the God of the Bible. God bless you. So I'd like you to like this video, make your comments, subscribe to this channel, and share to your friends, people you know will benefit from this content. Thanks so much, and God bless you.